Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Lokalfeed show. My name is Akila, and our guest today is Tasha Kolonas. Tasha is the founder of the Happy Hue, a platform devoted to exploring human potential. With a bachelor's degree in philosophy and as a certified personal trainer and nutrition coach, Tasha's aim is to empower and inspire others towards lasting lifestyle changes through thought-provoking content. On this episode, we talked about what real wellness means, how to stay positive in a crisis by combining work and play, and how important it is to combine human psychology with movement and nutrition. Before we get to it, if you want to support us, there are a few things you can do so. Share an episode with your friends and subscribe to our YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes. If this is not your first episode, we truly appreciate you taking the time to listen to these amazing stories. So, without further ado, remember, be bold and stay inspired. Here is Tasha Kolonas. Hi, Tasha. Thank you so much for sitting down with us today. So inspired by your story, and I really want to know more about you, the Happy Hue, how you get started with it, and so on. Maybe I've done a bit of my stalking, so maybe you can introduce yourself. Maybe share a bit about yourself, how old you are, what you do, what like anything really.
Sure. Thanks so much for having me. It's really an honor I see what you guys do, and it's awesome that there are communities like yourself. So I'm always happy to contribute and connect with people like you and communities like you. Quickly about me, I guess I am a full-time fitness instructor. I definitely had my share of a journey to get to this point. My background is marketing as well. So I've done a couple of different roles in marketing. But I remember when I started the Happy Hue, I actually started it way back in 2013. So it's been a while, but there has been multiple iterations of my website and multiple versions of what I want to do. But at the beginning, it was really about, I see all these inspirational things, with the internet, you see all these amazing stories about self-improvement, about females, strong females, things like that. And every time I see these stories, I felt like, oh, wow, I just discovered something new. And I felt like, why can't I share this with more people, And that was actually the seed, I guess, of the idea of the Happy Hue, which was to share what I find that's interesting to better myself and share it with everyone else who might find it valuable.
That is awesome.
And and then a little bit about me. I guess right now I'm an instructor at Absolute Cycle.
Okay.
So that's a rhythm cycling instructor. And then I'm also an instructor at Barry's Singapore. Okay. So that's high intensity training. And I'm also a personal trainer. So I take on some clients. That's a newer thing that I'm doing. I'm been in the fitness world since 2015. I started my fitness career in a marketing role at Guava Pass, which was bought over by ClassPass. Yeah. So I started in the marketing world, and then I saw the potential that fitness has, and I've always been athletic growing up, playing sports throughout my life. So I decided to venture into fitness full-time in 2016, 2017. And I started with F45, then I worked for a local studio called House Athletics, and then now this is where I am.
Awesome. That is awesome. I love how, your entire purpose of starting this is really to inspire yourself and also others. I think that's really cool. And you mentioned that you came from an athletic background. So what did you used to do?
So growing up, I was always playing sports. I played everything. I mean, as a kid, I did tennis, I did swimming, I did badminton, basketball,
That's like
horseback
everything else,
riding. Like, yeah,
literally.
I mean, I
All
literally
the
did
sports out
everything.
there.
Exactly, taekwondo and everything. So as a kid, I was really lucky. My parents really tried to expose me to a lot of different things.
Yeah.
What really became my first love was in high school. I played touch rugby. So touch
Okay.
rugby was my main sport. That was the one that I absolutely loved, and basketball as well. I just loved basketball. And then from that kind of lifestyle, I just became in love with fitness. So yeah.
Wow. Cool. And of course you're kind of like transferring that passion that you have into helping others. That's really cool. So you mentioned that you started out in this industry in 2015, and you started out as a fitness instructor first, and you only recently kind of was it recently that you started doing personal training? Why
So
was it
actually,
like that? Yeah.
yeah, so actually 2015, I joined a fitness startup. So 2015, I was still in I wouldn't say corporate role, but it's more corporate. I was still in an office setting. I was still doing a marketing job.
That's
But
guava pass, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
Okay.
where I really started to realize like, wow, like Singapore has a very interesting fitness market. And as you know, I've always been athletic and I've always been be- entering the fitness industry has always been kind of in my peripheral, but I never took that jump because I was a little nervous. And to be honest, I mean, let's be real, right? Asian parents are not the fondest when you say, I'm gonna go into the fitness industry.
Really? Okay. Okay.
So, but I mean, that's my parents at least. And so I kind of took time to really think about it. But once I jumped in, my first job was, so I used to be an avid F45 person. I
Uh-huh.
loved going to F45, and the one that I went to was the one in Amoy Street, and
Yeah.
the person who ran it, you know, he chatted with me, and he knows I was really athletic, that I'm passionate about fitness, and he kind of courted me into becoming one of his trainers. So that's how I started my fitness professional journey, I guess. And I didn't want to do personal training at first because I felt like group training, you know, you really get a different kind of energy and you get a different dynamic where
Yeah.
you see a lot of people. You I guess to go back a little bit also is because my question in myself has always been, where can I make the most impact? And that's why I jumped into fitness.
Yeah.
So group training felt natural to me.
Cool. Awesome. That's really awesome. And I've read a little bit about you, like, about you and the Happy Hue and the story behind it. You graduated with a philosophy degree. Am I right?
Yes, yes, I did.
And
I
then you
did.
dived into marketing and then now fitness. What is that? Like, what's that transition like? Like, why did you like, how was the philosophy degree even?
So it's what's I think funny about me. It's like, so I actually entered university for communications and PR, and
Okay.
I found, and because I went to school in the United States, and for them, you know, you have to do a general like courses before you dive into your main what do you call it, main major.
Major. Yep.
And as I was doing the general courses, there was a course that was philosophy that we had to take. It was mandatory in my school. And I was like, why do I find this so much more interesting than my major classes? So I actually found the marketing and the communication classes not as interesting. So then after 2 years, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take the plunge. I'm just gonna dive into philosophy because I just found it really fascinating. Um, and and I will never look back on that decision because I think the one thing that people, you know, when you hear philosophy, you're like, oh, what is that? Is it psychology? You know, most people ask me, that is that the same thing as psychology? It's like, no, actually, what philosophy is about theories on thinking, theories on life. So
Yeah.
it's a major, yeah, it's a major that actually was the basis of science in a way, because it's what it's a major on critical thinking basically. And
Mm-hmm.
I guess always found that really interesting, to be able to kind of think about thinking.
That is cool. And I think that kind of overlaps a little bit with human psychology, right? Which is what really Happy Hue is about. It's really about, you know, combining psychology and wellness. Am I right? Is that right for me to say that?
I guess I wouldn't categorize it that way. I would actually say it that the Happy Hue is really about embracing our own journey in finding what's right for us in our wellness journey. Does that even make sense? Because I think you know, sometimes what I realize is like people tend to categorize, and myself included, before I got to the point where I am here, I used to categorize things like, oh, okay, fitness is just my body, and then health is like something else, and then
Okay.
mental health is something else. So I used to categorize it in these separate boxes. But what I realized is psychology, fitness, nutrition, wellness, everything is actually one thing that we need to work on together. So finding that balance between each of these different components to actually make it our own, and to make it, to incorporate it into our lifestyle, so that it's not just, oh, I have a, you know, I have a beach trip coming up, so I'm just gonna work out for that beach trip, and then
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
even thinking about the psychology behind that. So I think it's more like a holistic approach to wellness, I guess, is more
Cool.
what I try to project on the Happy Hue.
Okay. And I guess that's and then I guess that's what wellness really mean to you right now. But it's interesting because you said that previously you it was like a, you know, it's just a single thing, you know, like fitness is the body. And then there's nothing to do with like the mental and health. How did you actually find that synergy between all those three things? Like what was that? What was the process like for you?
I guess if I'm being, I mean, if I'm like a lot of females, I think, that I've come interacting, to get to know throughout my life, like, you know, we struggle with body image issues. I think that's a really unfortunate thing that a lot of women and males go through when we're younger, is we have a lot of body image issues, and we're not confident. And well, I let me speak for myself. Like, I was not a
Yeah.
confident person at all, and I used to struggle a lot with body image issues,
Okay.
whether it was being too skinny, whether it was being too buff, whether it was all these different things. And what brought it really together was kind of finding my balance, you know, in owning my body, and realizing that whatever size or whatever shape I am, like, I should accept it, and I don't need to
Mm.
look like the catalogs on um, on the, you know, on adverts or anything.
Yeah.
And then what really really kicked me off on the more like the neurology and the psychology aspect of it was this one book that my friend recommended to me. It's called The Emotional Life of Your Brain.
Oh, cool.
Oh no, although I forgot the author right
Who's it
now.
from? Yeah.
Yeah. Called The Emotional Life of Your Brain, and it's done by, let's see, it's by Richard Davidson and Sharon Begley,
Okay.
Begley. But
Yeah.
that book completely opened my eyes to the connection of your brain to your body and to your mind, and how everything kind of works together. And from that book, like, that just made me go into this path of reading about brain a lot more. And then I went into all these reading about brain nutrition, neuro brain, like, so I guess that book is what really changed my relationship
Okay. And your mindset
with,
when it comes to
yeah, with, exactly, with like bringing everything together basically. Because like I said, yeah, before it was all separate, and then that
yeah,
book kind of made me realize how important your brain is to your
yeah,
body, how important mindfulness is to your body, or mental health and all of that.
yeah. That's awesome. Okay. I'm just kind of curious. Okay, I'm not sure if you're okay to share this bit, but the bit where you mentioned about your body image issues, do you feel like something you can talk about?
Hmm.
I feel like, I mean, being in the fitness industry, I feel like a lot more conversation is needed when it comes to body image. And I feel like it's something, and not just, someone on the heavier side is how do I put it? Like, struggles with, right? And I feel like, it doesn't matter whether, what size you are, but I feel like people will normally, I'm pretty sure there are times where people do struggle with body image. So you did mention about that. And how's that like for you? Like, what was the story behind that? Like, how did you deal with the body image issues that you used to have? And where are you at now?
I would say before, when I was younger, I was, I was really sad about how I looked, but I didn't actually have any real reason, but it was more of an
Mm.
insecurity that was developed throughout when I was younger, and I was never confident in how I looked, and then when I went into university, I gained a lot of weight. I gained, I don't know, like 10 kilos or something like that in
Yeah.
1 year, which is, to me, was quite a lot. And that kind of sent me into this spiral of panic.
Yeah.
um I was like, oh my gosh, like, how can I gain weight? And at the time, I guess, before, my value was skinny girls look great and skinny girls are what I want to be. And before, it was just about, I just need to be skinny, I just need to be skinny, because I thought being fat was wrong for some reason, or being a bigger body is wrong. But what I and then I had to journey through, kind of through personal struggles of, um like, not having a healthy relationship with eating.
Mhm.
So what do you call it, like, it's not, I can't remember what the correct term is, but basically, I had a period where I didn't have a healthy relationship with eating, where I would eat a bowl of rice and I would feel so bad about it that I would cry after. And it was just these things
Okay.
that was just like, this is so unnatural and this is so
Yeah.
weird that I'm like this. So I really started to think about, like, why am I like this? And I started to read a lot about the psychology behind, eating disorders and things like that, because I really wanted to
Yeah.
understand why I was going through these mental things. And
Yeah.
what I realize is, at the end of the day, like, we are in control of our minds, and
Mhm.
we are in control um, of how we treat our bodies.
Yeah.
So it was a really serious process where I had to keep fighting this weird, to me, what was lucky for me was I recognized that this relationship is weird. I'm uncomfortable with it. So I need to do something about it and change. So
Yeah.
I just really put the effort that every time I started to think negatively about my relationship with food, I was like, no, 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 no. I need to have a healthy relationship, right? And I got to a point where I was restricting myself, like, I tried veganism, I tried pescatarianism, I tried
Wow. Okay.
vegetarianism, and I tried all these things. What was my motivation was just to lose weight, right?
Yeah.
And I was
Okay.
like, what am I doing? Am I like, it's like, I love food. Like, I love food. What am I doing? Why am I doing this to myself? And so through really hard work and a lot of reading, I kind of picked myself back up into, now where I am is like, I genuinely eat what I want. Obviously, I side on the healthier, because for me now it's not about losing weight. For me now, it's
Yeah.
more like, how do I get myself to the healthiest self, right?
Yeah.
So that definitely includes my food. So I think it's about being really honest with yourself. Well, I had to be really honest and brutal with myself in a way that I was like, this is not normal. So I need to do something about it. So
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
now, coming to this point where I really appreciate, um, you know, my body, and I think it's also like an acceptance and forgiveness. Like, I'm not going to be perfect all the time. I'm not
Yeah.
going to eat perfect all the time. And nor should I be reaching for perfectionism, because perfectionism is not real, I guess, in a way. So I think
Yeah.
it's just kind of approaching it and with a more relaxed sense of, oh yeah, like I can eat food and not feel so guilty, and I can exercise, you know. And again, I think the motivation is what was different. Like my motivation is not lose weight, it's like just be healthy.
Cool. Awesome. I guess that took, a few years for you to somehow figure that out, right? I mean, being accepting and forgiving of your body and your health. I'm sure that that's not something that you only had to do in a couple of months, right?
Oh no, no, it took years, and I
Yeah.
think that's the thing that if anyone here is listening and is struggling with body image issue, just realize that be kind to yourself. It's gonna take work, like real work, for you to bring yourself to a point where you find love for yourself, but it's worth it. Every little thing that you can do to make
Mm,
yourself feel and accept yourself more is gonna be worth it in the long
yeah.
run.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. How do you feel like that actually ties up with self-love and compassion? Like, what is your definition of self-love? Would you say that being accepting and
De-
forgiving?
yeah, definition of self-love is, yeah, being so kind to yourself that, and realizing that you are human and humans are not made to be perfect. And accepting all of you for what you are, and being real. Like I think, when I saw that weakness in myself, I just had to be real. Like, okay, Tasha, that's not normal. So let's do something about it,
Yeah.
rather than denying it and like, oh no, 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 no. I'm this is totally fine. It's really accepting every part of you, even if that part is not great right now, you can make it better.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm very curious, Tasha. What's your day like? Like, how do you go through your day now? I mean, I guess now we're in the middle of a circuit breaker and stuff, right?
I was gonna
So,
say,
but
like in the circuit breaker or in my normal day.
okay, let's talk like both sides. Okay, so during this circuit breaker period, I'm sure. I mean, Barry's and Absolute Cycles close, right? So
Yes.
what do you do in an entire day? How do you care for yourself in this period?
So the best thing about it is that I tend to not to wake up with an alarm right now. So I've kind of let myself wake up at my natural time, whatever that my body decides to wake up, which that has been really good, not to wake up with an alarm.
Yeah,
But I'm also sleeping a lot earlier, so I would naturally wake up at around 6:30 or 7, which is maybe very early for some people.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but I'm also sleeping at 10, 11. So that's great. So once I wake up, I make my morning like smoothie juice thing. And then I've made a challenge for myself this month to meditate every day.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
so so which I have. So I've been meditating every day, and I do it in the morning just because you want to get it out of your it's not the easiest thing to do if you don't have a habit of it. So I just do it in the
Yeah.
morning, and then I'll have a breakfast after. And even though I'm not teaching with Berries and Absolute, at Berries, we're still running classes, so I try to teach there. I still have some personal training clients, so I do it online. I teach a couple more classes online. And then with the other times in the day, I either read, taking courses online, trying to upskill. I think that now is a good time to upskill. I cook sometimes, and yeah, I guess that's how I feel my day. Oh, and then I obviously do a workout for myself at some point, whether it's, movement, whether it's high intensity. I
Cool.
think it's super important, especially while we're in circuit breaker, to get some kind of movement in.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna ask, what do you do for a workout? Like, how do you train for yourself? But you mentioned,
Yeah,
movement. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, training for yourself, I think especially now, like, before maybe people had certain routines, but I
Yeah.
think now I'm kind of more following, like, how does my body feel today? What do I feel like doing? If I'm really tired, I probably wouldn't do anything too crazy, but when I'm feeling rested, then I'll run outside and I'll try to do longer runs, or I'll do a higher intensity workout to challenge myself. But I'm really trying to tune into how I feel every day.
Yeah. Cool. So it just really depends on how you feel that day,
Yeah.
and that's what you'll be moving. Cool. Okay, I want to ask you something. I saw something on your website and also on your Instagram page about staying positive in a crisis. Um, I think we mentioned a little bit about creating time to play,
Hmm.
and I feel like that's something that a lot of I guess a lot of people or even women, we might have a little bit of a guilt to take a bit of time off work and then have fun. So um, what's your take on this? How do you stay positive in a crisis? It doesn't need to be this whole COVID thing, but I'm pretty sure everyone goes ups and downs. So how do you do that? Like, how do you stay positive when you're on a down?
Specifically on the play part, or
Yeah,
just in general? Okay.
yeah, on the
Yeah,
play
I
part.
mean,
Yeah,
I actually saw this on some, I can't remember where. I saw it somewhere on a social media post of someone,
yeah,
remember to make time for play. And I was like, oh yeah, that's true. That's a good idea. And I think, in our society now, we're so used, especially living in a metropolitan like Singapore, we're so used to, like, we gotta go, 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 whether it's like working out, whether it's work, whether, I admit I also feel that guilt. I'm like, when I'm just lazing around, I'm like, no, maybe I should be doing something more productive. Maybe I should be doing this and that.
yeah,
And for sure, I think that guilt, I think, is very, very real, especially in our modern world where it seems like everyone is doing so much more than us, and we're constantly on social, maybe seeing people doing more than you do, and naturally we tend to compare. But I think play is just doing something for yourself that's fun. I think as adults we have completely forgot that, fun is still really important. When you see kids, like, they're just playing around and have zero care in the world, and through some of my reading, like, it talks a lot about the value of play, because
yeah.
actually play is good for the brain, it's good for our emotional state. So I mean, there was a question that was asked in that post that I saw, which was, what did you used to do when you were a kid? Like, what did you do to entertain yourself? And for me, I used to doodle a lot. So I used to
Yeah.
have like a sketchbook where I would doodle. I'm not naturally like the best, drawing person, but I used to doodle a lot, just like random drawings, random words I would do. And so I started actually doing that. I started making my own bookmarks because I've been reading more. So I've been drawing my own bookmarks. And it's not like, honestly, if those of you thinking like, oh, it's, I'm not artistic or whatever. Honestly, my patterns are literally like little dots and like lines. But even just doing that, it makes me feel so great. Like, just
That is
doing
awesome.
something that's enjoyable and colorful, or yeah.
That is cool. So you do so how often do you do that now? Like, doodling.
I've been doing it definitely every weekend, and
Okay.
so I'll just take my book out and then I'll write words or I'll color. Oh, I also have there's a movement on the mindful coloring or something. So I have a coloring book that I sometimes color in as well.
I've heard about that. Now, do you feel like that works for you? Like the whole coloring?
It does actually. There's something
Okay.
therapeutic about it. I
Okay.
think it brings us back to that childlike play. Um,
Yeah.
that as an adult you just think it was pointless almost, right? You're like, why am I wasting
Yeah.
my time in coloring when kids can do that? But there's just, honestly, there's something to it personally that I find going back to these maybe childish, mundane activities are actually beneficial to
Yeah.
me. And yeah.
That's awesome. It's very interesting as well because I just had a conversation with someone recently about how that coloring thing actually didn't really work for them. So I guess,
Mm.
what's most important is, creating time to play is really about your own definition of fun, isn't that right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's like my approach to everything, to be
Mm.
honest, is that we're so different.
Mm.
what works for me is not necessarily going to work for you or the next like what I find fun. It's just the same thing like music, right? We're all not going to like the same music, but what I find enjoyable, is my own. And so tuning into what I find enjoyable and what I find fun is the important thing, I think.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. I like that. Yeah, I think that's the most important thing. We got to find time to be a little bit more childlike, a lot more now, especially in this
Well,
pandemic.
yeah, I think with this pandemic, it's it's the stress is real, right? Like everyone is feeling the stress for sure at some level. Let's not be, I'm not gonna lie to you and say like, oh, it's been like happy jolly every 24 hours a day, right? I
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
have my ups and downs, but it's about realizing when you have that down, it's like letting yourself feel all that down and then picking yourself back up and not being negative about it, I guess. Yeah, being and having that play like mindset where I allow myself time to do something fun with
Yeah.
no other objections other than being fun, like for myself. And then, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, it's just really valuable.
That's important. It is definitely important. So what do you think, is this gonna be a new norm? Like, do you feel like, I know I've seen a lot of with this whole stay at home circuit breaker thing, a lot more people are actually working out. Like people are actually exercising more now than I've ever seen. Do you think
I
people will be a
agree.
bit more conscious with living healthily, taking care of their mental health now? Like what is the new norm, do you feel, after this?
I think what it is people are realizing how essential movement is. And that's why I keep saying movement, because it's not necessarily exercising like at high intensities, but it's more like taking a walk. Um,
Mhm.
doing something for yourself that gets your blood moving through your veins. And I think because people are realizing how essential movement is, then then I think people will be more open to the idea of exercising more regularly.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's
So
it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing.
yeah, totally not a bad thing. And especially in the industry that I'm in,
Yeah, I know.
positive, 100% positive. And I think my feel is the new norm is that people will definitely prioritize movement more than they have before,
Mm.
especially with the lack of distraction, whether it's going to bars, whether it's, you know, yeah, doing maybe other things that we prioritized before. We realize like when we strip ourselves down to the basics, it's like movement is an essential thing.
Right, I know. It's amazing. I mean, speaking of which as well, in your industry, I think I want to dive in a few more questions about being in this industry, and I guess it also sparks some inspiration for people who probably is thinking of being in this industry. How do you feel being a woman in this industry, and what are your thoughts on that? Like being a woman really in a, I guess a fitness. I mean, like most industries, fitness is also a male dominated industry. What do you feel about that? Is that right or wrong?
I would say that's wrong actually, because I feel like I think fitness is one of the industries
Mm,
that gives you completely equal platform.
mm,
It's really about you and your development and how you treat, how you handle yourself, I guess, in this industry. But it's equal play. I don't believe um, that I can't achieve more than a male instructor, because it's
yeah.
not about, I don't think it's about the sexes at all in our industry. I think in fitness is really about what you can put in and what you can give out, because um, I feel like I can train just as hard as any male counterpart. I can
Awesome.
lift as much as I want to as well. If you look at, um, I would find maybe the strongest females in our industry would probably be the CrossFit females.
Yeah.
If you look at the CrossFit landscape in the world, you see these are females competing on an equal, um, playing field, you know? So I think our industry is one of those industries that are giving equal opportunity.
Awesome. Do you do CrossFit as well? Or have you done CrossFit before?
I have done CrossFit. I am not in the CrossFit community. I
Mm-hmm.
have respect for people who do it because it's very, very, very tough.
Yeah.
Um, I do have feelings though that it's a very technical sport. So, you know, it takes a lot of dedication, and if people are not committed to it 100%, there's a very high risk of injury.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so I think it's not for everybody, and
Yeah.
including myself, I haven't really taken to it, but I do admire the people that have committed themselves to CrossFit because it's a very, very, very tough sport.
Awesome. Cool. At least you tried it. I think that's the you know, in your whole sporting background, I think that's one thing that, you know, it's amazing that you've tried so many things in your hand. I think that's like really important, especially in the industry, right? You gotta just put yourself out there and
Yeah, and I
try.
think it's
Yeah.
like for everyone's exercise journey, actually, just give it a
Mm.
shot. You might like it, you might not. If you don't, then don't do it. Because I
Yeah.
think exercise is hard enough that you don't need to add another barrier. If you don't like it, just find something else.
For
There's so
sure.
many different things. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that really overlaps with, you know, creating time to play and doing something that's really very specific to you, something that you actually like, and not something that, you know, everyone is doing. Cool,
Yeah, exactly.
awesome. Okay, so Tasha, what's next for you? So what's the plan for the next 2 to 3 years? You know, it's you still 5 years in the industry. How are you going to scale Happy Hue? I believe it's a. Oh, speaking of which, I'm going to just go back to Happy Hue and your website. I love your website. The yellow
Oh,
color is
thank
like.
you.
Can you
I
talk
wasn't
about that?
sure.
No, that's amazing. That's okay. Can you just explain the story behind the brand? Like, you know, how did you actually pick the colors? Well,
Yeah,
you know.
sure. I mean, yeah, so yellow has always been my favorite color. It's just, I don't know why, I was just gravitate towards it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Maybe because I'm a Leo, I don't know.
Oh wow.
Um,
Okay.
so, you know, fiery colors, red,
Yeah. Yeah.
yellow, it's like my bracelets are red. Um, yeah, I think yellow is just such a cheerful color, and I've always, for some reason, just loved yellow. And even
Yeah.
as a kid, I like yellow characters. Like I like
Okay.
yellow Power Rangers, I like Winnie the Pooh, I like Bananas in Pajamas.
You like
And then it kind of,
Teletubbies, the yellow one?
no, I didn't like Teletubbies so much. But yeah, like even now, my favorite character is like Gudetama, right? And that's
All right.
yellow.
Okay.
So I don't know. I just for in terms of color, it was a no-brainer because I just love yellow. So it was just okay, I just love yellow. And I think yellow also projects like positivity. It projects like optimism, and that was what my website and my brand was really about, was, you know, that kind of feelings of optimism, happiness. Um I guess a little, and then a little concept background, I guess, is because I guess I've always been fascinated with self-improvement. I
Mm,
feel like self-improvement is what has gotten me to where I am. So always staying curious about how to do better.
yeah.
And I felt for some reason that yellow was just that representation of like constant reach of doing better, of being happy, and yeah, so positivity. And then how I got to the name, the Happy Hue, like I said, my website was always about projecting happiness, projecting
Mm,
optimism, positivity. So the happy is obviously self-explanatory, and hue is actually a meaning in a shade of color, right? So that's why
yeah.
hue, yeah, so that's why it became hue, because yellow is a hue. So
Yeah.
it's become the
That's
Happy
cool.
Hue.
That
Yeah,
is
that's kind of how
awesome.
it how
Yeah,
it
and you
became.
you are you are definitely. I mean, I gotta say that you are literally. It's definitely you know, shouting positivity. You know, inspiration, self improvement. In so many ways. The color, the, you know, the name. I think you're doing a good job in that sense. I think that's really That's
Thank
really
you so
great.
much. I really appreciate that.
Cool. So what's the plans for Happy Hue in the next 2 to 3 years? Like, where do you see yourself? You know, how are you planning to scale this?
Well, I mean, I have really enjoyed putting content that I find fascinating. I guess it's always kind of been more like a personal project versus um I haven't really strategized or anything about scaling or anything like
Yeah.
that because I mean, I really was hoping that this is my platform to kind of share what I find fascinating and what I find valuable, and then just kind of see where it goes. Obviously, it kind of linked well with my fitness career. When I entered into fitness, I was like, wow, this is like the went into fitness. So when I went into fitness, I was like, oh, this just like kind of works, you know, everything
Yeah.
kind of works together. And so I guess I can say that I'm not the biggest planner. I'm more about a spontaneity.
Awesome.
So I obviously would love for the Happy Hue to reach more people because, again, like I said, my question has always been how can I impact more people? Because all this knowledge that I'm reading from other inspirational authors and instructors around the world has changed my life so much that
Mm.
I really want to share what I've come interacted into one platform, and I hope that it will be read by other people and kind of like that pay it forward concept.
Yeah. And that links to
Yeah.
your mission. I mean, the one that we spoke about at the start, you know, just really giving back
Yeah.
and inspiring
Ex-
others.
exactly. So I mean, I guess if you're in 3 to 5 years, I guess maybe hopefully I can host something that will bring people who like my stuff together and have meaningful conversations,
Yeah.
even more meaningful conversations. Yeah.
I think I love meaningful conversations. I think that's literally the whole story behind Local Feed as well. And this is why we do what we do. And I think that's really awesome. Speaking of which, right? I know, I mean, it's important to have meaningful conversations and, you know, collaborations. How important do you think it is though? Like, you know, having women or even women, you know, collaborating, come together, you know, grow together. How important do you feel that is?
I think there's a proverb or something that was like something I can't even remember it, but it's something along the lines of you can't go at things alone, but it's better with you can only go at things with a team.
Yeah.
So I think it's natural sometimes to feel like, oh, I should do things by myself and it's me, but
Yeah.
at the same time, over the years and throughout life, you realize that it's really about being a team player at every part of your life. So
Yeah.
whether it's at work, whether it's at home, whether yeah, anywhere really, it's really about being a team player.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important to always have a community behind you.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, I think having a community is always going to be relevant. It's always going to be really important. And actually, the base of my major, philosophy, was all about like discussion. So when I was in school, we would discuss the different theories, and I feel like that's what we're missing in our adult life. Sometimes we're so focused on our own journey and trajectories that we forget, like, hey, maybe we should talk to other people about our ideas. Maybe we should open ourselves up to different perspectives, because that's like really when we start to grow, when we start to expose ourselves to different um, people and different worldviews. That's when we really
Yeah.
start to expand ourselves. And even if you don't agree with it, then at least now you know the other side.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's awesome. I think it's amazing how you kind of have this, you know, it's really, you know, it's all about giving back and also, you know, connecting with others. And I really feel that's really important. That's awesome. I'm sure even as a fitness instructor, you know, you're really positive and optimistic. I'm sure you have bad days too, right, Tasha?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, let's be real. Like I said, humans are not perfect. I'm not perfect, and
Yeah.
I definitely have my down days. I definitely
Yeah.
have, yeah, for sure.
So how do you deal with that? Like, how do you cope with that? I mean, apart from the drawing, the doodling and stuff, how do you cope with
I
struggles?
think, I mean, let's speak specifically with this pandemic, right? Like
Mm,
when I definitely have had a day where I was just so distraught, kind of with, oh no, what's going on? What's going to happen to the world? What's going to happen with our jobs? Like what's going to happen to Singapore? What's going to happen to the kind of the sense of panic?
mm,
Um, I think what I found helpful was kind of to let myself feel all those feelings,
yeah,
because
giving
I think,
permission to yourself.
yeah, because I don't have to always be happy, jolly all the time. Like that's very
Yeah,
unrealistic. I think that's also a very unrealistic expectation of anyone, to
yeah,
always be in, performing at their best or always be happy.
yeah,
Um, so I think accepting that it's human to feel down days is one, and then to realize that that experience of being down is actually, if you, it depends on how you look at it, but it can help you grow in a different way, you
yeah.
know um and allowing yourself those emotions and just acknowledging them,
Mm-hmm.
I think, is really important too. Because I had a week actually where I felt really down. I can't even, there was no reason for it.
Oh wow.
it was
Okay.
kind of it was kind of just like an overwhelming sense of, oh my gosh, what is going on in the world, kind of. So I
Yeah,
guess that I mean, that was the reason, but there was no particular event or anything
yeah,
that triggered it. It was just kind of like an observation of what is going on, and I kind of was like, wow, this is really overwhelming. And then adapting to the whole training online and all of that, that was also overwhelming for a little bit.
yeah,
Um, but then again, realizing that tomorrow is a new day,
yeah,
that where I am right now, if I'm feeling down, can change. It's not going
yeah,
to be my forever.
yeah, for
So I
sure.
think having those, like, um, having that knowledge of, it's not always going to be this, like this, or
Yeah,
it's not going to be always sad or bad.
yeah.
And then what I found the most helpful actually throughout this whole pandemic is, counting my blessings.
Being grateful.
Yeah, being grateful, just literally taking time to write down what I can be grateful for, or doing like a compassionate meditation, or if you're not comfortable with meditation, just thinking about what you can be grateful for. For example, like, or yeah, like I have friends, in the US who are working the front lines, and
Yeah,
hearing about what they have to go through, like not having enough masks and all of this. I was like, wow, that's crazy,
that's
and
real.
yeah, that's real. And I think, sometimes people want to ignore the news, but I think it's worthwhile to just, what I do is I have one day of news where I'll just kind of absorb different news from
Yeah,
around the world. So I'll go to different news sources. So you kind of, I make myself aware of what's going on, and
yeah.
then realize that being bored at home is the least of my problems, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I think
That's true.
there being grateful for, oh wow, I'm safe, I'm healthy at home, I can work out, I can move, I can eat, I still have a job, like just things, I can sleep on my bed,
Mm.
um, yeah, anything, having family to talk to, having, so just start literally, you know thinking about everything that you can be grateful for
Yeah,
is going to change your mood instantly, or at least mine, it changes my mood instantly.
for sure. Yeah, I think first step is acknowledging that we all have bad days, and then secondly, it's really clinging on to the hope. I mean, it's hopeful that tomorrow will be a better day, and of course, like counting your blessings. That's important.
Yeah, for sure. I think
That's
we forget to do that sometimes, because with all the bad news, you're like, oh my gosh, everything is, you know, bad, bad, bad. But actually, no,
yeah, yeah,
there's a lot of different things that you can be
yeah.
appreciative
Actually,
of.
the news can be I think I share your sentiments as well because, with this whole, I mean, especially early on in the circuit breaker, the news is just crazy. It's like it can really get right in your head if you don't know how to,
Yeah.
like, filter things out or set boundaries and so on. It gets to you. So yeah, definitely. I think counting your blessings, it's easier said than done. Then we just need to remind
Easier
ourselves
said,
that.
easier said than done. And I think I was like taking knowledge of all the simple things that you can be appreciative of.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Okay, Tasha, who is your role model? Someone you look up to. I think you did mention a few in the emails that we've been bouncing back and forth. But who's your role model right now at the top of your head, and why is she a role model?
I was gonna say, does it have to be? Well, I guess Oprah is. If you're saying it has to be female, then it's probably Oprah because I've been following Oprah for a really long time,
Okay.
and I think she's someone who has always given back, even though she's at the status that she's at. And I think she is an amazing role model because she continuously enriches people and constantly gives back in a lot of different ways. So not just
Mm-hmm.
monetary, but also in terms of uplifting people
Mm-hmm.
and giving a strong message. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Great. Um, That's awesome. Oh, wow. I think I've gained so much from you in this session. What we're going to be doing next is we're diving into things that we do with our guests. So we do
Yep.
have like some questions that we always ask our guests. It's the same questions, and I think it's something that I'd be really interested to know. And it's quite fun.
Sure.
We call it fun, but it can be quite stressful. Okay, cool. So the first one, right, Tasha, what is your why? Like, what is your drive to get up in the morning?
That is a hard question. What is my why?
Like, yeah, we call it fun, but it's actually really hard.
Why, my why would be how can yeah, how can I impact more people? How can I give back more people? So why do I do the things that I do is has always been like, how can I help others?
Mm,
Yeah, because I think to be super honest, and when I was younger, I struggled a lot with like being too much in my head, and I just always hoped that someone would kind of just help me out and be a
mm,
bigger sister in a way and just tell me like things are going to be all right when you grow older. Like
okay.
you're going to
Yeah.
be fine, you know? And so I just hope to be that person. Or when I was struggling with my body image, like I really hope that someone would have just told me like, hey, it's gonna be okay, like this is this. So I really hope that why I do what I do is just to help others, because I went through a lot of struggles when I was younger, and I just hope that no one will have to go through that kind of
Mm.
mental stress that being in your own head can sometimes become.
That's really nice of you. Like how, you I guess when you say that, you didn't necessarily, I mean, you wish you had someone, but you didn't. And then now you're kind of like giving back in a way where, look, if you need help, I'm there. And I think, wow, that's really awesome.
Thank you.
Cool. Okay. What is something most people don't know about you that you're really proud of?
Oh,
Oh. Second fun question.
that something that
Something that most people don't know about you.
that people don't know. I mean, I kind of already, I get that I'm really proud of.
Yeah.
I guess, well, I mean, I guess not a lot of people maybe didn't know that I meditate every day, but I'm really proud that I was able to achieve that because that was not easy.
Okay.
And I actually meditate through an app, so that's even not, I don't know. I'm really proud of like being able to pick up this daily practice. It
That's
wasn't,
awesome.
it took some time, yeah.
Yeah. No, I've tried it myself and it's not easy. It's not easy to just
Yeah.
shut you. How long are
Yeah,
you
it's
meditating
nothing.
now? Like, how many
So
minutes?
I use the Headspace app,
Yeah.
and I tend to switch around between 10 and 15 minutes.
Okay.
My goal is eventually to reach to 20, but I'm not there yet. I know I'm not there yet. So
Wow.
15 to 20 15 to 10 minutes of daily meditation.
Awesome. Yeah, now that's hard. And I think with Headspace, I think you start off with like really short, like, like a few minutes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, you should be proud of that. Not many people can do can shut their head.
Yeah, I'm on
Okay.
like what's the date today? It's like I'm on day 28, so
Wow, 28 days streak. That's awesome. Cool. Okay, Tasha, what is your most humbling experience?
humbling experience. Actually, I can't remember how old I was.
Yeah.
But I was, and this is kind of I've been reflecting a lot in this pandemic, and this is one experience in my life that has always come back to my memory. And I think I was in maybe, I guess maybe fourth grade. So what is that? Like I was
8 years old, I guess.
like 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, around 9, between 9 or 11. I can't quite remember how
Okay.
old I was exactly. So I was still living in Jakarta, and our school had a trip to the trash picking communities.
Okay.
So in Jakarta, the trash collectors are, people who are carrying, um, it's not like the sophisticated trucks that you see in Singapore. It's more like
Okay.
people carry trash in, like, oh man, I don't know like a cart, sorry. I was thinking of
Yeah.
the Indonesian word, but like a cart that they carry,
Okay.
and these men will kind of go around the neighborhood and collect your trash.
Okay.
And we got to visit a neighborhood of trash pickers, which, I mean, a community of trash pickers, which was really interesting, because the one thing that I will never forget was this little kid was so friendly and so happy, but at the same time his home was around trash, like, because
Wow.
unfortunately the trash community in Jakarta, they're what you consider slums.
Yeah.
And that was a humbling experience, in the sense that I was like, if this kid can be so happy and so friendly under these conditions, like, why can't I be? Because I told you I was struggling before. Why can't I be happy and satisfied and grateful for what I have? Like, this kid, it was so, and he was actually sharing his snack. He was trying to share his snack with me. And I was like,
Okay.
wow, how can this kid be this generous, this happy, when in our point of view we were like, wow, this is so sad, right? But he was so happy, and he was trying to share his snack with me. So I
Yeah.
thought that was a really, I mean, that memory has always stuck with me. It has never left me. And I think in hard times like these, like, which is why I try to always remind myself, like, to be grateful, because there are definitely people that are less fortunate.
Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it? Makes you think. Makes you really
Yeah.
count your blessings. And that's really awesome. Yeah. Well, okay. If today was your last day, Tasha, not sounding morbid or whatever, but what would be your three truths or lessons, or kind of like wisdom that you leave behind? You gotta have three, okay?
Three wisdom.
If
um
today was your last day.
if today was my last day, be kind to myself and others.
Mm-hmm.
Always prioritize on kindness, I think. Kindness and generosity, that's one. Two, focus on the things that add value. So whether it's adding value to myself, adding value to other people, like, that's what's going to be the most valuable. And three, don't forget to have fun in the process.
Creating time to play. I think that's important.
Yeah, and just having fun. I think sometimes as adults we forget that, yeah, to have fun and just relax. Like,
Yeah, for sure. We need to remind ourselves of that a bit more.
Yeah.
Okay, last one is fun slash kind of difficult question. What is your definition of legacy?
My definition of legacy would be what are you leaving behind as an individual? You know, what when you are gone, if you're not in this world anymore, what do people remember you by?
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I think that's my definition of legacy.
That's your personal definition of legacy, right?
My personal definition of legacy is like
Yeah.
what do people remember
Yeah. What do
you
you
by?
want people to remember you for?
Yeah, or and if you know if you're a brand, like your brand's legacy would be, you know, what would people remember you for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So what would you want people to remember you for?
Good question.
That's
Uh, I think, and this is something that I've actually really thought about when I teach my classes, right?
yeah.
It's like what do I want people to remember my classes for?
Yeah.
And 100% the fun, 100% the energy, and third is about inspiration. I
Cool.
think I really hope that I can be a positive light to whoever needs it. And yes, it's not happy daisies, happy smiling every time, all the time in my life, but I really hope that that is something that people will always remember me by.
Awesome. Great. Cool. I love how we've just made it yours. Your definition of legacy. Okay. All right. Last bit, okay, before we wrap things up, Tasha. Okay, so we have 5 questions, right? You have 5 seconds to answer these questions, okay?
Okay.
So basically I will ask you something and then you only have 5 seconds to think of your response. Okay? So this one is fun. We call it 5 seconds of fun. So it's like the fun of the fun. Okay, cool. You ready?
Yeah, ready.
Awesome. All right. Ready? The first one is, what's your favorite yoga pose?
Down dog.
Cool. We spoke about music earlier and about how, time to, like, play and how it's you whatever music you're listening to and what others might not be the same, right? So what is the most played music in your Spotify right now?
Oh, I think it's I think it's
5
jazz
seconds.
actually. Jazz.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That is awesome. So you actually listen to a lot of jazz.
I listen to a lot of different categories of music. I
Okay.
would say that. Yeah.
Okay.
So jazz is one. I was listening to salsa the other day. Like,
Nice. Wow.
I don't
Okay.
know. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. All right. What is the most creepiest thing you've ever said to a stranger? Or if you have never, what would be the creepiest thing you ever say to a stranger?
I think you are my father or something. I don't know. I think that would be super creepy.
That would be really cool. You should,
That's something I've
add.
never, I know that's something I've never, I just want to clarify that that's something I've never said to anyone before. It's just, I was answering the question of what would be creepy to say to someone.
Now that's cool. You gotta add the effect, like, just walk up behind that person and be like, I think you're my father. Okay, what is the first thing you do after circuit breaker ends?
Well, circuit breaker ends, but then I mean, if the world went back to normal, I would go to
Yeah,
my friend's house and hang out.
awesome. Miss that, huh? I know. I
Yes,
think all of us do.
100%. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Last one, all right. What is your favorite junk food? Like, it has to be like the worst junk food.
Ooh, I actually like a lot of junk food, so I sometimes do give
Favorite.
myself favorite junk food. It's so hard. Maybe French fries.
Ooh, yum. Okay. Awesome. Great. Thank you so much, Tasha. Is there anything else you'd want to add that we haven't really covered today?
Anything else? I think we covered quite a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think one message I'd like to say actually is help support all our local industries, including the fitness industry. Obviously, like we, as the fitness industry, we are not allowed to open after the circuit breaker, not yet. So if, you know, it doesn't have to be me. If you're listening out there, whoever your fitness person is, support them as best you can. Whoever your neighborhood studio is, support them as best you can, because just like restaurants, we are not allowed to open yet, and some of studios are really seriously struggling to survive this pandemic. So if whenever you can, you know, I know there's a lot of free content out there, but if you have the money, if you have the ability, please support us in any way.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think that's important in across fitness industry and also a lot of other industries. I think we're all in this together, and if we can support it, we should. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, most importantly, how can we support you, Tasha? So how like your Facebook, I mean Instagram, I mean you're at the Happy Hue, right?
Yep. Everything is on the Happy Hue. Yeah. So yeah, feel free to read my website, the Happy Hue, and then feel free to follow me on Instagram and take my classes. Maybe I'm doing a couple of online classes. You know, I have some free content out there, but you know, if you can support and take our classes online.
Awesome. Where do you teach? So online, where do you teach? Is on berries and Absolute Cycle, or do you do it on your Instagram? Where can we find you? Where can we find your class?
Yeah. So I'm teaching classes for berries. I'm teaching classes for Absolute as well. And I am also teaching my own boot camps.
Nice.
Yeah, and I am taking in personal training clients online. So if you do want to know my services and anything like that, you can just kind of email me on my email, which is on my website, or on my Instagram, or you can just DM me on my Instagram.
Perfect. Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Your Instagram is at the Happy Hue, right?
Yeah, that's TheHeHapPy. Yeah, the hue is where people get H-U-E.
It's like a tongue twister. It's cool though. I love it. All right, cool. Awesome. Thank you so much, Tasha, for hanging out. I think it's really it's fun. It has been a fun session. I hope.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.